Hello. So, uh, video 2 for Kathy's song. So, this is the verse, and really it's all verse, isn't it? I mean, it's a very typical folk song in that really you have one section which repeats and repeats and repeats. So, we had the intro, which was what we went through, which was a different, and now we have the pattern and technique that's going to be the basis of the rest of the song, and that is, like I was saying, that's just that's just your Travis picking. By the way, if you can't see anything in these videos, do let me know, and I'll try and refilm it. So, Travis picking, it's thumb doing, let's do it on a G, and notice I'm doing this G with just my third finger on the third fret of the low E string, because at the moment I don't need any other strings. Yeah, I'm going to concentrate. Let me see. I'm going to concentrate. Where are we? On bars, the first two bars of the verse. Yeah. So it says section B verse, and it's bar 9. There's a little number 9 just to the left of the bar. It's the third line down. Number 9 and 10. Yeah. So I'm going to concentrate on number 9, which is this. It's a G. Yeah. And you can see the rhythmic notation. Let me just see myself again and see if you can. That's annoying. Let me just see myself again. See if you can see that. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so that's really just straightforward Travis picking. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the thumb doing the beats and the fingers doing the in-betweens or the ands. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and what am I doing? Fingers 1 and 2, finger 1 on the G string and finger 2 on the B string, and it's starting. I mean, obviously it starts with the thumb, but the first finger you're going to use is going to be finger 2, yeah? The second finger on the B string. So you've got thumb, second finger on the B string, thumb, first finger on the G string. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's the basis of the whole thing, yeah? And then in the very next bar, let me just see if that, yeah, in the very next bar, you've got the pinch or the pluck, yeah, where the first beat is thumb and B string, so that's second finger, so thumb and second finger, and instead of it being an eighth note, like in the first bar, everything's an eighth note, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and when you have a pluck, pretty much always lasts one beat, yeah, or a crotchet. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, yeah, and then exactly the same thing in bar 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then bar 4 is exactly the same, is it? No, it's not. You got a pluck, but it's the same rhythm as a pluck. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so on that fourth bar, you end on beat 4 with the thumb. You don't put in the and of 4 with the finger. Yeah. So this is bar 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. Fourth bar of the verse. So if I play that whole line, bar 9, 10, 11, and 12. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, and now without the count. No, again, now without the count. Okay, that's the basis of the whole thing. Yeah. Make sure you saw that. Now I know in the next bar, the very next bar, we've got third fret of the top E string, so I'm going to do that because I'm using my third finger. For the low E string, I'm going to do that top E string with my pinky, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. It's always that rhythm though, of when you've got a pluck, it lasts 1 beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And again, the last note, you can see it in the music notation above the tab, is just, you end on the thumb, you don't put in the and with your finger. Yeah? And then you've got an A minor, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. This E minor over G, I mean, it's not an E minor. You could see it as an E minor over G. You certainly could. Yes, there are different ways of, but what you hear a G really, that's what your ear is hearing. And he's just keeping that note in there, which would make it a G add 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it just makes it easier to go from an A minor really. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So you've got an anchor finger with the second finger, yeah, on the second fret of the D string. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Then in that next bar, we're at 13, 14, 15, 16, bar 16, which is the last bar on page 1. We're at the bottom of page 1. You can see you've got C and then G over B. I mean, I would call it C over B. But no, I suppose if that is open, if that D is an open string, then you would call it G over B. But anyway, the main thing is you've got 2 chords in the same bar, so this pattern, this Travis picking pattern of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 is spread out over 2 chords. A normal C, and then just for that G over B, your second finger on the second fret of the A string. Yeah, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so that's bar 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, or the last bar on page 1. That's pretty much it. I mean, yes, okay, the next thing you have is bar 17, the first bar on the second page, and that's a B minor. Now, when you have that first bar, like I said, you can do the cheat if you want, because the whole thing, let me just see again if you're seeing me, the whole thing. Now, just a bit more of that picking hand for you. When you first play the B minor, it's only the middle 4 strings, so instead of doing the bar, you could just you could just fret the A string, because you're just picking those middle 4 strings. What is the picking pattern? Let me have a look. You got a pluck. Yeah, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Then, I mean, so to get from, you've done C, again, let me just see if I can see, if you can see me. C, that G over B, and look out for, I mean, you heard it there maybe a bit, the underside of fingers slightly grazing a ringing string. Yeah, because when the string isn't ringing, it's obviously taking up less space than when it is ringing, because when it's ringing, it's wobbling from side to side. And when it wobbles from side to side, it might touch the underside of your finger. Yeah. So watch out for that, because I mean, it's an inevitable part of guitar playing. You just can't be perfectly accurate all the time. But as much as possible, you want to have the clean notes, don't you? So what I was saying was, we're going from C, G over B. Then we get to that B minor. Now, if you wanted to go from this chord not into a bar chord, you could just go into the, if you like, the 4-finger B minor with the first finger just doing the A string for the first bar of B minor, and then put your first finger, or like pull it onto the top E string as well, so that you're fretting that top E string with the first finger. Now have a look at my first finger. Because I've got fingers 2, 3 and 4 playing the D, G and B strings, I don't need to have a flat finger barring all of them. I can do this little curve, which I find easier. Get the A string with the, with the tip of my finger, pretty much the tip. There, you can see the indentation. That's where I do it. when I'm doing this sort of flattened finger rather than, fingers like this for a chord. So getting the A string with the tip of my finger and that top E string with this part there. Don't know if you can see the indentation there. Just above that joint there. There, this part of my first finger. Yeah. But the strings in between, I'm not bothering to push down. Yeah, because I'm going to get those strings in between the A string and the top E string. These fingers are going to be fretting them, so I don't need to do a whole bar. Yeah, so you might find that an easier way of approaching it. Yeah, starting with the first finger just doing the A string, then pulling the first finger onto the top E string, and then you've got all those strings for when you do, what is it? A pluck. So we've got, yeah. Then that pluck, I just find it easier to use my third finger because I've got fingers 1 and 2 assigned to the G string and the B string. So I find it easier to use my third finger for that top E string. But if you just want to move your second finger to the top E string, that's absolutely fine as well. That's probably what Paul Simon does. I don't know. I just do it like that because of a classical thing where you do that sort of thing. It doesn't matter, whichever works for you. Yeah. So we got B minor. Then, now this is important. You've got this bar of G. We're on the top of page 2, yeah? 17 and 18. We've just done bars 17 and 18. The G is bar 19. And first you have a third finger on the B string at the 3rd fret. Or any finger you want, yeah? And then in the second half of the bar, you can see there's a 0 on the B string, so you've taken the finger off. So you get a bit of a melody instead of just. Now, I never used to play that B minor at that point. Yeah, I was listening to the song, which is a bit indistinct. And I can't actually hear it. Bloody hell, I can't hear it. I mean, I'm listening on the laptop, but then I plugged in headphones and to get a better, sound. I still couldn't hear it. But I used to play it like this, rather than that B minor after the G. So remember, this is the top of page 2. Yeah, the last bar of the top line of page 2. So that's bar 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah. So we've done 2 bars of B minor. They're definitely B minor, then a G, then I used to do this. And so I'd go from a B minor, G I'd fret with my 2nd and 3rd finger, and I guess I would actually leave that finger there as an anchor finger, because then I would go to this, which I like the sound of better. And it might actually be happening. I just can't tell. And if I can't tell, most people won't be able to tell. So play which one you want. If you want to play B minor again, go for it. But this works just as well. What is this? Soft and warm and continuing. Right, this, you see it fits the melody. Soft and warm. Now, I'm doing a D over F sharp, yeah? I left my 3rd finger on the B string as an anchor finger. So I've gone from my G to D over F sharp. 3rd finger stayed where it was. 2nd finger came to the 2nd fret of the G string. And 1st finger went to the 2nd fret of the low E string, yeah? And my picking pattern, exactly what you see. Exactly what you see on the page, but not for B minor, for the G before it, because I've got a bass note on the E string rather than on the A string, yeah? So that pattern that I'm doing is exactly what you just did for the G. In other words, your thumb going from the E string to D string, and your fingers 1 and 2 being assigned to, finger 1 to the G string and finger 2 to the B string. Okay? Let me just check how you're seeing me, if I haven't moved out of shot. Yeah, then most of this is the same. Then you've just got this. So, page 2, now second line, first bar of the second line, it says 21, bar 21 beside it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Yeah, so those last two notes on the A string, 0 and 2, if you look just above at the standard notation, you see they're crotchets or full beats. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then you get to the C, and the first two notes, 1 and 2, are played with the thumb because they're on the beat. 1 and 2 and then you got an and on the open G string, which you play with the first finger. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Yeah, so you had G, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. C for 2 bars, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. A minor, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Back E minor over G as they put it, so you can leave your second finger where it is. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. D, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And finally, not finally, there's one other bit I want to go through. But then this refrain, or this tag, which comes when the lyrics are finished for each stanza or each verse. Now, I think they've got it a bit wrong there, but I'm going to stick to what they've done, except for one thing. Where there's a hammer on, instead of just hammering on with finger 1 on the B string, I'm going to, as we did in the intro, hammer on with fingers 1 and 2 to first fret of the B string and second fret of the D string. So 1 and 2 and 3. Now this takes a bit of work because, and if you don't want to do it, just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and I would just do that. So what am I doing? I'm just splitting the bar into 2. I'm going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and what's this? Well, it's C over G, as they've got there. But so that would be the simplest way of doing it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and whether you do it 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, or with a pluck, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and... Okay, the way they've got it here, you could do it exactly like that, but I would recommend, like I said, where the hammer on comes, hammer on with fingers 1 and 2 into that C shape. Fret 1 on B, fret 2 on D string. Now, the difficulty technique-wise is that you're doing a hammer on and at the same time as that hammer on, you got to get your thumb to pluck the low E string. So I would practice this. Isolate that part. Pluck, because no finger is actually plucking the D string, but because you're hammering on, you'll hear it a bit. So pluck the B string with your first finger. So we've got 1 and 2 and 3. And your third finger is already down. Sorry, your third finger is already down on the E string, isn't it? Because you've just gone 1 and 2 and 3. So isolate that bit, 1 and 2 and you've plucked the B string, open B string with the second finger, and 3 and 3. Don't worry about if it's not all sounding out evenly. Just that movement of basically of hammering on at the same time as this hand plucking, you know, with the thumb, is this thing. I'm hammering down at exactly the same time as I'm plucking with the thumb, yeah? So that's the technique that you've got to get these bars. And like I said, you can do the easier option that I mentioned earlier, but it's a useful technique. Useful because it doesn't just happen in this song, it happens in so many. Now, yes. And at the bottom of page 2, we are still on page 2, the last line of page 2, so that's, you'll see a little 29, starts with bar 29. Again, you've got what we just played. Yeah. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then you're in this shape, yeah? D add 11 over A is just taking this shape up 2 frets. And then for that next bar, pinky goes to the 5th fret of the top E string. Okay? So we had okay, let me see. Am I still seeing everything? Good, okay. Let me have a look at the tab again. So page 3. Then, yeah, you got more of that on page 3. And then you got what you were doing in the intro. And then you've got the outro. Ooh, I haven't looked at this. Let me do a separate video for that. Okay. I don't think there's nothing much new there. But just because it's slightly different at first, I will do a next video. Oh gosh, this is a long video. Okay, bye.